Hi, welcome back to Movies in a Nutshell. Today we're visiting Selfless, an action film with more than a bit of science fiction. Ryan Reynolds is a wonderful actor. Billionaire Damian Hale looks out the window overlooking a city skyline. A noise disturbs his thoughts, and he sees a nurse scrambling to pick up her medical equipment. Damian is on a small business brunch with his partner Martin O'Neill and a young, ambitious businessman, Carl. After the young businessman throws a tantrum, Martin and Damian are left at the table to discuss his cancer diagnosis and his 6 months left to live. Martin says he has to tell his daughter and apologize to her. Damian refutes that she doesn't even answer his calls. He calls Claire, his daughter, but she doesn't answer. In disappointment, Damian puts down his phone and pulls out a Phoenix Biogenic card from his wallet. In a flashback, Damian asks Albright how many people have done shedding, a medical procedure that transfers people's minds to a different body. Albright says that it's specifically for the brightest minds of their time. He shows Damian a body and mentions genetically engineering it to be perfect and offer the best human experience. Albright asks him if he feels immortal. Damian visits his daughter at her workplace and asks if she wants to join him for a drive. After refusing, she notices that Damian seems a little sick. He waves off her concern and insists more on that drive, going on to insult her work. Damian tries to make amends by giving Claire an envelope, but she's even less receptive to his attempts to reconcile. He storms off after. Back in his own workplace, Damian researches shedding. He finds out about Dr. Francis Jensen, the creator of shedding. Damian watches a video of him explaining the philosophy behind it. Damian coughs out blood and collapses before he finishes the video, and his co-workers rush him to the hospital. That night, Damian calls Albright to say he didn't feel immortal. Damian is told that he can't ever go back to his life and that his death needs to be public. Damian agrees, and on a plane to New Orleans, he calls Martin for lunch at the specific place Albright mentioned. At the restaurant with Martin, he orders the drink that Albright recommended, which makes him collapse. Someone calls for an ambulance. The ambulance brings Damian to Albright to transfer his consciousness. Before he's entered, Albright mentions that metal messes with the process. After some uncomfortable minutes in the MRI looking machine, Damian is transferred over to the new body. The shedding is successful. Albright asks Damian how he is. Damian quips about the new body's smell, as he should. Damian starts hallucinating during the conversation, seeing a water tower painted like a pumpkin. Albright tells him that death has some side effects and shows him the obituary for Damian Hale. He then mentions that tomorrow was Damian's first day of school, the poor sod. Turns out school is physical therapy. After a shower where Damian finds some sort of shoulder scarring, he is given medication for his hallucinations with some nice jokes about Prozac. He also learns about a fake life and a new name, Edward Kidner. When Damian, now Edward, is finally capable of moving properly, he starts a new, temporary life in New Orleans. He's required to still take his medicine and meet with Albright weekly for a refill. He's otherwise very well adjusted and enjoying his life. He's befriended by his neighbor Anton, who has 2 children he seems to love. For weeks, Damian settles into a routine of hanging out with his friends, partying, bringing girls home, and drinking his pills. One night, he misses a dose, which doesn't seem to have consequences until he's looking at his daughter's picture. Damian starts having hallucinations again, seeing the same things he saw in his first hallucinations. He also sees a sick child. Damian managed to drink his medicine, but he collapsed on the floor from the hallucinations at that point. Damian confides in Albright about what he witnessed, but Albright dismisses it. However, the man gives himself away by specifying a Latina woman, despite Damian never mentioning her ethnicity. Albright deflects Damian's question by saying he needs a change of scenery, suggesting he go to Hawaii and double his medication. Still, Damian searches for the water tower and finds out it's in St. Louis, Missouri. He goes to the graveyard he went to before shedding, unearthing the metal box he hid there before shedding. While waiting for his flight to Hawaii at the airport, he changes his mind and finds a flight to St. Louis, Missouri. With a car he somehow acquired, Damian drives to the water tower in St. Louis and finds a farmstead just behind the hill it sat on. Damian finds no one answering his knocks on the house door. Walking to the back, he sees the same horse he's been seeing in his hallucinations. After trying the knob of a back door, Damian finds it unlocked. Breaking and entering is a crime, but he still enters the house, finding it devoid of people. It's not too long before he finds pictures of a family, the woman and child in his hallucinations, and a man who shared Damian's new face. Before he can go further, the Latina woman in the photos, Madeline Bitwell, confronts him. She recognizes him as her dead husband, Mark Bitwell, who'd supposedly drowned. However, some men from Phoenix Biogenics come knocking and looking specifically for Kidner. Damian struggles, but the men subdue him and even knock out Madeline. Then Anton shows himself to have been part of Phoenix Biogenics. They try to convince Damian to leave, but as Damian's taking his meds in the bathroom, he sees one of the men setting fire to Madeline's car. After an intense fight, Damian wakes up Madeline and hides under the house while Anton and his men set fire. Damian shoots the men one by one, and Anton is accidentally set on fire. Madeline and Damian escape, while the fire truck and police rush to the burning farmstead, and Madeline mistakes Damian for Mark. They go to get Anna Bitwell, Mark and Madeline's daughter, from school. After watching a video on Madeline's phone, Damian sees Anna and Madeline close to his car, and he leaves his seat to greet her. Anna is ecstatic and jumps into his arms. Damian brings them all to a motel. He researches about the medicine he needs to keep the hallucinations at bay and finds that Dr. Jensen died and is survived by his wife. He rewatches the video where Dr. Jensen talked about the philosophy behind shedding and notices a tic that the doctor shares with Albright. Further into the video, Damian sees Dr. Jensen's assistant, who looks just like Albright. The following day, Damian drives with Madeline and Anna to a nursing home to talk to Dr. Phyllis Jensen, the wife of the late Dr. Francis Jensen. Though he runs into a dead end regarding any research from Dr. Francis Jensen, Phyllis mentions that Albright regularly sees her. Damian asks Phyllis to call him over. Albright doesn't hesitate to come at Phyllis' call, but Damian is waiting for him when he gets there. Albright reveals then that the pills eliminate the mind of the original owner and that within a year, Mark would be gone. But if Damian stopped taking the medication, Mark would come back while his consciousness would fade. Despite this, Damian still tries to get Albright to lead him to their base with a gun to his back, but Albright's men disarm him in the hallway. They take him to their car, but Madeline shows up to help, shooting the man trying to choke Damian. Damian sees that the man is wearing Anton's necklace and realizes that the man is actually Anton in a new body. Anton says something that heavily implies this isn't his first shedding. Damian demands his pills and steals them off Anton anyway. Not before Anton hints at Madeline to ask her husband when their daughter was born to prove that Damian isn't Mark. On the road, Madeline demands Damian pull over. With great reluctance, Damian does, and he tells her that he isn't Mark. In an ironic twist, Madeline repeats Claire's lines about Damian being manipulative, and Damian replies that he knows. He brings them to Martin to get a flight out of the country, and he also offers an untraceable account with more than enough money for Madeline and Anna to start over. After much convincing, Martin agrees to fly them out of the country. Later, as the group waits for the plane, Damian teaches Anna how to swim, just like Mark promised to. They bond, and Madeline watches them fondly. When Anna and Damian are done, Madeline hugs Damian to listen to Mark's heartbeat. After that, she kisses Damian and comments that he's not a bad kisser. Though she's not named, they talk about Claire, and Madeline confides that she and Mark plan to go to the Caribbean. When Madeline asks about the alarm for Damian's regular intake of pills, Damian doesn't answer and goes to the bathroom. There, Damian notices that every mirror is covered. He becomes suspicious and starts looking for Anna. Finding her in a child's room, someone Anna introduces as Tony. Damian takes Anna immediately and confronts Martin, mentioning that Tony was Martin and his wife's son who died 2 years ago. Turns out that Phoenix Biogenics called Martin an hour before Damian got there and is waiting to ambush them the moment they step off the property. Damian convinces Martin to help them escape, telling Martin that Tony's new body isn't grown in a lab but stolen from his own parents. Martin takes the news hard, having to brace himself on a chair. He agrees to help and gives Damian permission to use one of his cars. The group split up, with Damian driving out front to be a distraction. They all agree to meet at a truck stop. A high-speed car chase ensues once Albright's men notice Damian in the car, but one of them notices that Madeline and Anna aren't with him. Everyone chasing Damian dies or is fatally wounded, including Anton. However, Madeline flags over a stranger's car, despite being on the run from people who want to kill them and use their bodies for science. She and Anna are captured, and Martin goes to the truck stop to meet Damian alone. He tells Damian that they reverse-engineered the pills to avoid Albright holding something over his head. Damian decides to stop taking his pills for a while to re-experience Mark's memories. For 12 hours, Damian suffers through the agony of remembering Mark's memories, but his efforts are rewarded. He recalls an abandoned warehouse in New Orleans that stores Mardi Gras floats, deducing correctly that this was the Phoenix Biogenics base. Damian drives there alone and sneaks in. He enters the room with the machine and Anton, but Albright starts talking about how Anton has been through the procedure at least 3 times, more loyal each time. He's behind a one-way glass that Damian can't shoot and orders for Damian to be captured and used as Anton's replacement body. Before being knocked out, Damian shoves a bullet shell into his mouth. After the shedding, Albright asks Anton his name and if he had children, to which Anton answers none. Albright lets the men carry on, and when Anton wears his necklace again, he asks one of the men for a gun and the location of Madeline and Anna. Albright looks through the brain scans back in the lab, but when he looks up at the machines, he sees an anomaly. When he goes to pick it up, he finds the bullet shell. Meanwhile, Damian was only pretending to be Anton. He kills the men around him and saves Madeline and Anna. They go through the warehouse, Damian killing guards and sparing technicians until they come to one side of the one-way mirror. Albright stands on the other side with the machines. Damian realizes that Albright found out and mentions that he did listen to the doctor's orders. No medals during the shedding process because it messes with the procedure, but Damian risked it just to have a chance at saving Madeline and Anna. Albright taunts Damian, saying that he's the only one who knows the recipe for the pills. Damian, in retaliation, says the exact recipe Martin gave him, using a flamethrower to set Albright on fire. Damian escapes and leaves the warehouse burning, Madeline and Anna following behind him. He points them to a boat en route to the Caribbean. Later, Damian visits Claire at work. He introduces himself as Edward Kidner, a friend of her father's. Damian manages to finally say what he failed to communicate as Damian Hale gives Claire an envelope containing a letter from him. He leaves the city and travels to the Caribbean, staying in a seedy apartment. Mark wakes up in his own body, in a loud and dingy apartment he doesn't recognize. He's disoriented and confused, but he finds a video of himself on a laptop. As Mark plays it, Damian talks to him through the video, saying that he hasn't taken the pills in days and he feels fading. He welcomes Mark back and tells him to take care of Madeline and Anna. Mark finds his wife and daughter on some island in the Caribbean, reuniting with them finally as himself. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Movies in a Nutshell for more videos like this.